Hi, I'm going to call this meeting to order. No problem. We are conducting this meeting via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Please note this call is being transcribed and will be uploaded to our website and/or social media to eliminate, and/or social media. I will stop there and we'll start another sentence. To eliminate background noise, please mute your phone when you are not talking. Everyone has a right to be present at this meeting. All attendees that are considered disruptive to the progression of this meeting may be removed at the discretion of the chair, which is me, as per the Municipal Government Act, Section 198. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding. Is Glenn on the line? Glenn, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Glenn.
Voting structure.
Okay, you've got an agenda in front of us. So, are there any additions to the agenda?
None from administration.
Seeing there are no, can I get somebody to adopt
I'll move
the
that
agenda?
we approve the agenda, adopt the agenda.
Member Wilson has adopted the agenda. Oh, yes, we'll be carrying this, so the votes will be in a negative, so if anybody disagrees, then we'll have a roll call vote. Is there anybody opposed to the adoption of the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is passed. We have adoption of the minutes, the unapproved minutes from December 8th, 2020. Are there any changes? Can I get somebody to?
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Member Link. Is there anybody opposed? Hearing no opposition, the minutes are approved. We will now go on to development permit applications. The first one is DP 2020-146.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Suzanne Hayes, Development Officer with Wheatland County, and the application before us is DP 2020-146 for a contractor services business. So I'm going to jump to the appendices on page 13, Appendix A. And so Appendix A is the location plan. So we can see that this application is on Glenmore Trail, just west of, on Glenmore Trail, just west of Highway 24. If we go down to Appendix B, we can see the circulation map. So this application was circulated to landowners within 1 mile. This is also on page 13. And there are 2 stars on the circulation map that you can see. Those were our respondents to the circulation notice. We had 2 responses with concerns, and I have put them on, the full letters are in Appendix F on page 22 and 23, but I'll just summarize them for you. So one of them was concerned with trash, soil contaminants, and the applicant responded stating there was 0 contaminants and that the focus this past year was to clean up the front of the property. The plan for the upcoming year is to clean up the rear of the parcel, and also that when they purchased the property, there were car parts and tires on site, which they are also slowly cleaning up. And they also mentioned that there are many farmyards with debris that they have worked nonstop to make their property beautiful. So the complete summary is on page 10 if you wanted to look at it. The second letter had concerns about the hours of operation, which were originally on the last application from 8 to 9 p.m. And they would like, this neighbor would like it reduced to 5 p.m. And they also reported that there was a dog barking issue. So the applicant stated that he often doesn't get home from the landscape sites that he does until 5 p.m. and he needs to unload the truck with the bobcat or move a bale of hay. But he is proposing that he would reduce the evening hours to 8 p.m. and also that he worked many hours to clean up the yard and at times was near to one of the neighbors' properties. However, that work is complete now. And also when the property was purchased, they received a pamphlet stating that they may experience farmers working late into the night and to be prepared for that. The dog barking comment was mentioned to the peace officers, who stated that they hadn't received any complaints. They are on this call this morning if anybody would like to discuss that and the complaint process. Internal staff had no concerns, and this was not circulated to agencies. So if we go on to pages 14 and 15, Appendix C and D, we can see the site plan and an aerial photo. So this property is zoned rural business, and initially it was a home-based business. It was rezoned to rural business a few years ago, and last year they were issued a permit for a 1-year term for contractor service for their landscaping business last year in November. So their permit expired, and we only had done it for a 1-year term at the time because they were working on cleaning up the site. So a difference from that previous application to this one is that they were planning to construct another greenhouse, but in this application they took that out, so they have chosen not to construct a second greenhouse. So the hours on the previous permit, as I mentioned, were 8 to 9. Now the conditions have been reduced to 8 to 8 p.m. The applicants have been attempting to obtain a commercial water license for their existing greenhouse as per their previous permit, but they're having difficulty with the communications due to COVID. And we have several photos beginning on page 16, Appendix D. So this is page 15, sorry. So here's just April 2020 and the 2018. So April 2020, it was just beginning the summer season, so they were just beginning to work on the cleanup of the site. And we go down, and then you can see the 2019 pictures on page 16. So you can see several pictures of the cleanup when it was underway. And then if we go to page 17, you can see these photos provided by the applicant. So several photos of their property with the cleanup. They did a turnaround driveway to address the concerns about trucks stacking back onto Glenmore Trail. And so they've done a circular driveway to help with that issue. And they've cleaned up the site. And then our peace officers, so there was an issue with trash blowing. So on page 20, I've just circled that this was actually, they said, personal trash, some animals got into, so it had blown off site. But they had put these trash receptacles at various places on their property, so that's what that is a picture of. And then a peace officer did visit the site on December 14th and verified that, yes, the cleanup looks good. And there's our 2 letters in Appendix F. And so the conclusion is, well, actually, it does align with the MDP as it provides employment for residents. The redesignation indicates support in principle for the lands to be used for business purposes. Applicants have completed the items required in the 2019 temporary permit. No complaints have been received since that time. And if the site does become untidy, it would be a contravention of the DP and subject to enforcement. Trash or other items of a business or personal nature creating a nuisance for other residents may be enforced under the nuisance bylaw or the animal control bylaw. So in conclusion, staff are recommending approval of the application without a temporary expiry date with the conditions as noted. And that is found on page 8, all of the conditions. On page 11 is our standard 3 response options for MPC to consider, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. You said that law enforcement or bylaw was on phone?
Yes, they are.
Could you ask them just to state the process, just so that this is on record, because I'm pretty sure the neighbors are gonna be wanting to know what the proper process is. And if it's on tape, then I can, yeah.
Okay, I believe Jordan Meyer is on the call. If not, one of the peace officers will be and can respond to that.
Good morning. It's Dean Young, Community Peace Officer, Wheatland County. I can certainly address that matter. With respect to bylaw investigations, when a complaint is lodged, it typically is expected to come through our office, so it can be appropriately documented and dispatched to an available peace officer. Typically what will happen is then we will either reach out over the phone to gather more information, or we'll attend the site and observe the complaint itself. Sometimes the evidence isn't able to be gathered by a peace officer, so we then depend on witness statements from the people that have witnessed the offense, be that a dog running loose or garbage or noise, things like that. And then typically we'll require a record of disturbance to be completed. This is called for by the courts and our Crown Prosecutor to be able to produce evidence of a disturbance of some kind. With respect to noise, dogs barking, and the like, we will require a record of disturbance. At that point, we will work on voluntary compliance before we take any enforcement actions. And if the situation is not remedied in a timely fashion, then we have the option of laying charges through the issuance of a ticket. And then the option then for the recipient of the ticket would be to either remit the fine or to plead not guilty and attend court for a trial. At that time, we would require the witness to corroborate their statement in open court through testimony. At that point, the courts will make the decision and the situation will be remedied. So that's the process that bylaw takes here in Wheatland County. I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Dean. MPC's wishes?
I'll move that the commission approve DP 2020-146 for contract service landscape design and construction subject to the following conditions.
Now, this is in my area, and this has been a bone of contention. Can you bring up page 15 for me, please? If you look at that, either one of those photographs, the one on the right, it shows the property line, and it shows how close it is to the next neighbor. I mean, their house is 20 feet away from that property. It is really, really close. Probably it's more than that. I know the setbacks are further than that, but it is really, really close. My concern is the hours of operation. 8 to 8, running a Bobcat, and a Bobcat isn't, you don't idle around with a Bobcat. A Bobcat is run at its full power, and it is, and I think in this situation that we wouldn't allow something like that in a hamlet, and they are hamlet distances apart from each other. I think that the hours of operation should be cut. This company has a full-time employee that's there 5 days a week. So I'm thinking that anything that needs to be done with the Bobcat and all that kind of stuff they should be able to facilitate that during working hours. And so I would like to see the hours of operation cut down so that it's like treated like any business that we run. I understand, and I'll preface it in the fact that he may be out in the country, but due to the way that that particular subdivision is, they are right on top of each other as neighbors go. So they are actually in a fairly densely populated area. So I think we have to make, if he was out in the middle of 160 acres, no one would say anything, right? But he's on a 4-acre parcel or whatever the case may be, and so I don't wanna be onerous to him, but I think we have a responsibility to the neighbors to, mitigate the noise, because I, as a personal aside, I wouldn't want a bobcat running at 8 o'clock at night, not when I get home from work. Thoughts?
My question, through the chair, the neighbor that you're referring to, is that a small acreage or is that a agricultural setting?
They're all basically acreages in the area. There's 4 acres, four residences, probably within a quarter mile.
Okay. So the one that you're concerned with works in town and comes, he's got a regular work,
Yeah.
it's not like he's running equipment.
Right, exactly. He's got his 3 or 4 kids in his residence right next door, right? Yeah, there is no farming operations per se in that area. All the farms are further, yeah, they've all migrated. Yes, Member Lynn.
Question to administration. I know we frequently put, hours of operations onto permits. It's not typically 8 PM, is it, or is it like, do we have precedence for earlier? I know some operations have been earlier.
Yeah, some are earlier, and it depends. It is kind of site-specific, like gravel operations might go till 7 PM, or sometimes it's a little bit into the PM. 8 PM, not that often, I don't think.
So I agree with you. I suspect we have latitude to deal with the specific land use, like interface issues on this site. So being the counselor of the area, I would support your perspective on that.
Yes, I'm looking for an amendment to the conditions on hours of operation. And I'm thinking 8 till 5 should be plenty, which is, like the hours of regular business, because this is a home business application.
I was reading somewhere through that. Didn't it say he got home at 5 o'clock though, and had to unload the Bobcat?
He has a full-time employee there, right?
Oh, so there's a couple Bobcats, is that what you're saying?
I have no idea. I'm just reading what I've read there. He's got a full-time employee, so,
I think Don is asking if he's coming home from a site, landscaping site, at 5, he doesn't have time to unload his own stuff from coming back from work at his location, because it would be past the hours of operation.
could very well be, but if I've got another business,
So that, then he's gonna be cutting off an hour of his actual work time to get back home in time in order to unload within the hours of operation that we give him.
So I'd put a friendly amendment on the floor to, number 12 to or not 12, whatever number it is.
13.
To change the hours to, 6 o'clock, 6
I'll
PM.
accept 6 o'clock.
okay, I'm fine with 6. Because we sort of run into that situation that if I have a business, a 9 to 5 business, and I have an employee working at that 9 to 5 business, and then I come home from my other job and I decide to work at this business, because I'm the owner of the business, I shouldn't be allowed to work there just because I own the business, even though the business is closed, if I'm affecting the neighbors, right? Is that not true? So I will accept that, I would accept that amendment to 6. I think we're being careful.
Yeah,
Okay.
I accept 6, you don't accept 6, I accept 6.
Okay, so we have a motion in front of us, with the change to number 13 to the hours of operation to 6 PM. Is there anybody against that? Hearing no, whatever I'm looking for. Here, that's the word, opposition. We'll move on, that's passed, so we'll move on to DP 2020-153. an HBB3
You'll
for
get it.
classic vehicles.
You'll get it eventually.
Don't bet on it, buddy. I'm getting old. The more I learn, the more I forget. Go ahead, thanks. Don't think too far ahead.
Hi, still Suzanne Hayes presenting here. The application before us is 2020-153 for an HBB3 for classic vehicle restoration. So the location plan is on page 30, Appendix A. So we will go there and have a look. So it's 7 miles northwest of Hazar. And Appendix B is our circulation map. And so it was circulated to landowners within 1 mile. We did not receive any responses. Internal staff had a few questions related to vehicle fluids, scrap metal, and signage. So the response was vehicle fluids and scrap metal is going to Calgary, and signage will be on the side of the building and along the driveway, but will not be attached to a vehicle as per LUB specifications. So originally they had wanted to put their sign on the side of a vehicle, but the LUB prohibits that, so they have agreed not to do that. The Deputy Regional Fire Chief consulted with a fire inspector who conducted a site visit, and he had no issues with the DP approval, but the building will require a building code and fire inspection. And we did not circulate to any agencies. So Appendix C and D on pages 31 and 32, we see the site plan. It is zoned agricultural general. And the aerial photo, you can see this is the building in a red square there where they plan to have the operation. And they have customer parking right in front of the building, and they have project parking. So some of the projects that they will be working on will be parked there. It is behind an existing stand of trees, so screened from Range Road 211. And if we go to Appendix E, beginning on page 33, we can see some site photos. So this is the photo, it's a bit small, but taken from Range Road 211. It's on page 33, so you can see the trees there, which will screen the view from the road. And some photos of the building. And many of these photos, beginning on page 34, were taken from the inspector when he was on site. And this is part of his report. A couple of the exterior, one of the interior. So the site plan and aerial photos show that it's zoned agricultural general. Appendix C, existing shop, photos of exterior and interior. The storage area is screened from the road. So it does align, we believe, with the MDP and the LUB for home-based business type 3. It facilitates employment for residents in close proximity to their home. The outdoor storage area is screened. There are no circulation responses from adjacent landowners. Conditions have been placed to mitigate trash, used oil, and scrap metal disposal, and a condition has been added for safety codes and fire inspection. So the conclusion and recommendation on pages 24 and 25 is for approval of the HBB for a 2-year term, which is our typical term for a first-time approval. Page 28 shows our standard 3 options for MPC's consideration. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. MPC's wishes?
I'll move that MPC approve DP 2020-153 for home-based business type 3, subject to the following conditions.
Thank you, Member Wilson. Any opposition? Hearing none? That is passed. We'll move on to 2.3 DP 2020-154.
All right, Suzanne Hayes presenting. The application is 154 for a variance for an existing shed on an industrial lot. And the location plan is on page 41, Appendix A. And as you can see, it's within the Origin Business Park. The circulation map, which is Appendix B on page 41, shows that we circulated to adjacent landowners +1. And internal staff, the concerns were possibly with fire spread. The Deputy Regional Fire Chief had a comment regarding fire spreading from one building to another. However, He said that there are no life safety concerns as it is not a residence. It was not circulated to agencies. Appendix C and D on pages 42 and 43. So we see the RPR that he had done. It shows the shed in Appendix C. And the aerial photo that we have in Appendix D, the shed was not there yet when this photo was taken, but that's where it is. So the applicant had applied for a certificate of compliance, and it was noted that the shed did not meet the setback between buildings as it is 20 inches rather than the 5 feet required. So if we go to Appendix C in the photos, you can see the 20 feet separation between the two, or 20 inch, sorry, between the two buildings. And then on the other side, they had hard-packed recycled asphalt on 3 sides and a ramp for access. So this shed is used for cold storage for items that don't need to be kept warm within the building, so that's why they constructed this shed. So the policy evaluation, it does meet the criteria listed in the LUB for variances, as it should not affect any neighbors. There were no concerns raised from surrounding landowners, and fire services has no life safety concerns as there is no residence there. So in conclusion, on page 37, staff has recommended approval of the shed with the variance, and MPC has their standard 3 options found on page 39, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. MPC's wishes.
I'll move that MPC approve DP 2020-154 for a variance to the setback between buildings subject to the conditions in the report.
Thank you, Member Link. Any opposition? Hearing none, it is passed. We'll now move on to 2.4, DP 2020-155.
Suzanne Hayes presenting. If we would like to go to the location plan on page 51, Appendix A, this application is for a mechanics shop. It's a home-based business type 3. And there is our location plan, and it's located 1 mile northeast of Lakes of Muirfield. Circulation was done within 1 mile. We didn't receive any responses. Internal staff stated that they had comments related to vehicle fluids, type of flooring in the building, fire safety, waste, and scrap metal areas. And the Deputy Regional Fire Chief consulted again with fire inspector who conducted a site visit, and he said that it was a very well-kept property and he does not foresee any issues. However, he did recommend a fire inspection. So Appendix B, you can see our circulation area on page 51. And if we go down to pages 52, 53, and 54, Appendix C and D, here's the site plan. So you can see the shed, as they call it, is just to the north of their dwelling. And then their customer parking is further north on the site, where they also have a waste bin and scrap metal storage. Their used oil storage is in a separate shed beside their garage, where the mechanics will be happening. Appendix D is just an aerial photo identifying which building it is where they will be doing their mechanical repairs. So we have some site photos from, if we go to page 54, we can see the site photos. So this is from the road in front of the property, from Township Road 252. So you can see that there are several trees that would screen any outdoor storage or parked vehicles. Here is a photo of the exterior of the building as taken by the fire inspector. So there is adequate parking on site to the north of the parcel. Policy evaluation, it does meet the criteria of the MDP and the LUB for a home-based business. There are no circulation responses from adjacent landowners. Conditions have been placed to mitigate trash, used oil, and scrap metal disposal, and a condition has been added for a safety code and fire inspection. So in conclusion, staff are recommending approval, as you will see on page 45 and 46, for the home-based business for a 2-year term, subject to the conditions as noted. And the 3 standard response options are on page 49 And that concludes my presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Susan. MPC's wishes?
I'll make the motion that, MPC approve DP 2020-155, subject to the conditions presented.
Thank you, Member Clausen. Any opposing votes? Hearing none, that is passed. I guess we just skip over 2.5 and go to 2.6, which is DP 2020-157.
Yes, I will just mention DP 2020-156, was it?
Yes.
Yes. Just so that everybody knows, we did circulate it, but then the applicant chose to withdraw it. And I just wanted anybody listening that may have got that circulation to know that the applicant chose to withdraw it.
Thank you.
157, we have an application for an equestrian center. And if we go to the location plan on page 62, Appendix A, we can see that it is 5 miles southwest of Carsland. Appendix B is our circulation area, which was done for a 1 mile radius. Internal staff, the only comment that we got back was from the environmental coordinator, who said if it were a new development, there would be concerns with environmental sensitivities being so close to the coulee, but since it's all existing, no comments, no concerns. So agencies, we circulated to the MD at Foothills because it's in the IDP area, but we did not receive any comments. So Appendix C, pages 63 and 64, this property is zoned agricultural general, and you can see the aerial photos identifying all of the existing infrastructure, the existing arena, and various views of it. So these are the site plans provided by the applicant. So the applicant is a purchaser who wanted to be sure that all the permits were in place. And so they are not building any new infrastructure. They did have a structural engineer review the main arena in anticipation of the safety codes inspection that they will have to do for a commercial equestrian facility. So that has all been completed. The facility fits within the character of the area, which has residential and agricultural uses. The proposed application aligns with the MDP and the LUB. There were no concerns raised from surrounding landowners. A commercial facility has been operating at this location, and the new owner is ensuring all required permits have been obtained. The applicants have a structural engineer's report to support their safety codes inspection. So the conclusion on agenda pages 57 and 58 is that staff are recommending approval of the equestrian center with conditions as noted. And MPC has their standard 3 options found on page 60. And that's everything. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. MPC's wishes.
Is that the old Phillips place?
Yeah. I'd like to move that Municipal Planning Commission approve DP 2020-157 for an equestrian center, subject to the following conditions.
Thank you.
Conditions are on page 57 and 58 of your package.
Thank you, Member Bigger. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, that is passed. We will now move on to subdivision applications. 3.1, subdivision SD 2020-016. I forgot what he looked like.
Good morning, MPC members. Graham Allison, Planner 1 for Wheatland County, presenting subdivision application 2020-016 to subdivide one plus or minus 10 acre parcel from southeast 342421 west of the 4th Meridian. Referring to page 72 of your agenda package, the subject parcel is located at the intersection of Township Road 245 and Range Road 212, approximately 0.5 kilometers west of Chancellor. Staff circulated the application to external agencies and internally, as well as to adjacent landowners within a 1-mile radius of the subject land. Agricultural Services noted that the parcel to be subdivided consists of high-quality agricultural land, the conversion of which is discouraged by the SSRP and MDP. The land will remain zoned agricultural general with an existing well and septic already installed, and the proposal does not appear to otherwise result in significant impacts to agriculture or the environment. Tentative plan located on page 73 of the MPC package, and the photo is located on page 74. They show the application to subdivide 10 acres from a 139.97 acre parcel located within Southeast 342421 west of 4th. The proposed parcel currently consists of cultivated land. There are currently no buildings on the parcel, but there is an existing well and private septic disposal system. The remainder parcel contains a dwelling and farm buildings and is serviced by a private well and private septic disposal system. The proposed and remainder parcels both have existing approaches, and the proposed and remainder parcels are both zoned agricultural general, and there is no change or redesignation planned. The applicants plan to build a dwelling on the proposed parcel. The proposal is in general alignment with the strategies, objectives, and policies within the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, Municipal Development Plan, Regional Growth Management Strategy, and the Land Use Bylaw, and the proposed parcel is serviced by their own well and private septic disposal system. As per the Municipal Government Act, municipal reserve will be required on the subdivision. An appraisal prepared by Ivan Walshuk determined that the per acre value of the parcel is $4,000, and on the entire parcel, which totals 10 acres. The amount of cash in lieu for municipal reserve owing to Wheatland County will be approximately $4,000. The final amount will be determined in the final plan of survey. With that in mind, administration is recommending that Municipal Planning Commission approve subdivision application SD 2020-016, subject to the conditions noted in the planning report. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Graham. MPC's wishes?
Question on municipal reserve. So this must not be the first parcel out?
Through the chair, that is correct. It's not the first parcel out. It's been subdivided before.
The northeast corner?
Yes, that is correct. I'll go down to the map for you. So, yeah, the northeast corner.
Was that, I'm just concerned if that was subdivided a long time ago when the tracks went through. Because it's, a lot of those pieces out there weren't subdivided by the applicants, but because tracks went through or they built a road through there before you could do that, it naturally subdivided a lot of those parcels. And now people that want to subdivide are getting penalized for that by having to pay municipal reserve when it's a natural subdivision.
I'm the surveyor on file, and I can verify that is what happened.
That's what happened?
Yeah, through the chair, that is the reason for the original subdivision. The MGA states that municipal reserve is exempt if it is not the first parcel out of a quarter section, hence why we have included the municipal reserve on this application.
So, but if that's what happened, if it was through the tracks that subdivided that piece, we have the right to postpone municipal reserve until a later date?
That is correct.
Well, through the chair, then the title to that piece on the northeast corner, who owns that title? Or is that a separate title, or is it just a separate?
Christian Farms. Separate owner.
No matter who owns it, if it wasn't that, if it was the tracks that subdivided it, it shouldn't be anybody's fault. That we shouldn't make anybody pay municipal, because that was nobody's choice but CPR. Yeah, whatever.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Glenn.
I'm not aware of any subdivisions in the county that were, because of tracks or canals, the landowner always had to subdivide that I'm aware of. Just because you put a train track through didn't have an automatic subdivision. You had to apply for it. I'm pretty sure that's the case. It's just,
I believe
there's
it,
a train track, now we got 2 parcels. It wasn't like that. It had to be applied for and approved and surveyed.
Well, we just
I
had
don't-
staff tell us that's what happened.
Yeah,
I-
Glenn,
I-
my question, my question was the title, and the title belongs to a landowner. That isn't a separate title, that belongs to Christensen, right? So it's part of the north quarter, the quarter north of that. It's not a separate title on that.
I have multiple subdivisions in my area that were naturally subdivided by the rail. I mean, we have a piece that we didn't ask for, and we've had it for a long time. I can name 4 others. One wanted to go, well, it's not a subdivision, but it was a dirt road back in the
Me,
long
that's
time
more
ago,
like
to go around a
boundary
creek.
adjustment.
So I will move that,
Can I ask?
MPC,
I got a
I will
question
move that
for staff.
MPC approved subdivision application SD 2020-016, subject to the following conditions noted except for 6.
Can I have
we
a
have-
question to staff?
Yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
Staff, is it true that there's such a thing as a natural occurring subdivision in the county when train tracks went through, or canals for that matter, or anything? Any natural subdivision of quarter sections that were done without the application of the landowner?
And then somebody from, yeah, Matt is gonna answer that for us. Thank you.
Through the chair to the committee, some of the natural causing subdivisions they did occur, but it didn't create 2 titles. So it would have shown an exception out for whatever created that subdivision, but it would still create 1 title. What would occur later would be that landowner, due to that natural separation, would create a separate title, either to combine it with another parcel or just to have it separated with 2 titles.
So it's more than a subdivision, it's a boundary adjustment.
Yeah.
And that happened over my time here, we've done that with creeks and different things. It wasn't just, irrigation canals, the railroad track, creek. But a lot of that was boundary adjustments to change, there wasn't a subdivision as.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that, so yeah, it was an application. I have a number of them in my area too, because of railway tracks and canals and creeks, but it was always landowner initiated, and they weren't always boundary adjustments. A lot of them are subdivisions sold as such and built on. It's yeah. Not,
That's
not
why
automatic.
my
It had to
question,
be applied for.
yeah, that's why my question, Glenn, was to the ownership of it, if it was just amalgamated into the other quarter. And knowing the landowner, I would assume that's what he did, because he's opposed to subdivisions, so I would assume that when they acquired that, they would have absorbed it into the other title.
those could be
If
done.
that was the case, then I'm okay with it, but yeah.
So we have a motion in front of us with with the amendment that it's waiving the municipal reserve. Yes.
I just have a question to administration. Given the discussion, does that change your recommended conditions? I'm just thinking about precedents and also previous decisions, because I know in my division, we have similar issues. Not too far back, there was one with an irrigation, that caused the subdivision. Administration's recommendation on the conditions.
So, just, through the chair to Member Link, we're using our discretion on this one, in terms of it's not out of order in terms of this friendly amended recommendation, just because of the nature of what was brought up in discussion. So we're using our discretion.
Excuse me, I don't know if I'm allowed to speak to this. This is Andrew Kumar with Ace Surveys.
Go ahead, Andrew.
That parcel, I have it up on the computer here. That small triangle north of the tracks is on its own title. It is not consolidated with the land to the north of it, just for clarification. It has its own plan number. It was subdivided in 2016.
Based on that, yeah, I don't support the motion.
I would amend my motion, with that information, I would amend my motion to the original recommendation.
Okay, then, we have a proposal in front of us, a motion in front of us, as per, with the existing amendments. Is there any, with no amendments, just, exactly, with the existing conditions, no amendments. Is there anyone on the commission opposed? Hearing no opposition, that subdivision application is passed. We will now move on to 3.2.
Sure.
Sorry?
Just a question on a potential motion arising. I'm just wondering about directing administration to bring information back regarding like this issue with previous, like historical subdivisions due to either irrigation, railway, things like that, just so that we can get some clarity for future decisions.
Thank you, guys.
I would make a motion requesting that information to MPC.
And
Along with
just for information, going back to since I've been on there, we did allow natural topography to dictate subdivisions. Some quarters had as many as 7 subdivisions on them, but they were all applied for as subdivisions, and we used those as boundaries, but they didn't get an automatic simply because of that. We just allowed them to use those boundaries for their subdivisions, but there was no automatics. So, I don't know if that.
Even in the current council's time, we have limited a development, like, I don't know if you remember the one in my division, but because it would have triggered a 7th, and one was due to irrigation. And so they had to find they had to find a different solution to their development issue because of that. So I'm just looking for consistency. So if administration can bring us back this information and then we could integrate, I just don't want to have the uncertainty with each decision that we're going to make going forward. So as part of administration's report, they could say, the existing subdivision was due to a rail line,
and
information about titles, information about readjustments, things like that.
And just to add to that, I fully agree with your motion, and if they did redo the boundaries and incorporate that northeast quarter into a larger parcel, I mean, that's saving ag land, and I think we can reward that kind of
Administration will bring back a report to the commission.
Thank you. So do I need to vote on that? Is there a motion here?
We might as well, because it's direction to administration.
So I'm confused, which is nothing new. We passed the subdivision, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor just to.
MPC request administration to provide a context report on subdivisions and in the future to include that in the reports, including if there were boundary adjustments where the subdivision was integrated into an adjacent parcel.
Okay. Any opposition to that motion? Hearing none. It's so. We'll move on to 3.2, which is subdivision 2020-017.
Graham Allison again here, presenting subdivision application 2020-017, subdivide 1 ± 10 acre parcel from northeast 22, 25, 25 west of the 4th. Referring to the map, on page 81 of your MPC package. Subject parcel is located at the intersection of Highway 817 and Highway 564, approximately 9.5 kilometers north of Strathmore. Staff circulated the application to internal agencies, external agencies, and to adjacent landowners within a 1 mile radius of the subject lands. Amber Resource expressed concerns that they may need to pay for the resurveying of their existing access in the future, and stated if the leased roadway stays within the subdivided area, then the cost of the survey is at the landowner's expense. Staff have noted this is already the case, as the registration will carry over to the newly created title, and no change in the Amber access would be required as a result of the subdivision. The application is to subdivide a plus or minus 10-acre parcel. The tentative plan located on page 82 of your MPC package.
I think you're full.
Application is to subdivide a plus or minus 10-acre parcel from a 143.03 acre parcel located within Northeast 25 west of the 4th. The parcel was redesignated from Agricultural General District to Industrial General District on April 19th, 2016 to facilitate the expansion of an existing auto repair business. At the time of redesignation, council included a requirement that subdivision endorsement be completed within 2 years of first reading of the redesignation bylaw. The applicants did not apply to subdivide the subject parcel within the 2 years of first reading, which would have implications on MPC's decision to extend endorsement if an endorsement extension application is filed. The proposed parcel is currently undeveloped with an existing approach off of Highway 564. The applicants are planning to build a shop serviced by a cistern and a septic holding tank. The remainder contains a dwelling serviced by a private well and septic disposal system.
Subdivision's approved.
Subdivision's approved. Can you, if you're not talking, can you mute your phone, please?
Yeah, Andy.
Sorry.
The applicants are planning to build a shop serviced by a cistern and septic holding tank. The remainder contains a dwelling serviced by a private well and septic disposal system, a shop, a farm building, which can be accessed by an existing approach off of Highway 817. The proposal generally aligns with the strategy's objectives and policies within the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, the Regional Growth Management Strategy, the Municipal Development Plan, and the Land Use Bylaw. The proposed parcel is serviced by a private well, or will be serviced by a cistern and septic system, or holding tank, excuse me. As per the Municipal Government Act, municipal reserve will be required on the subdivision. An appraisal prepared by Ivan Welchuk on December 24th determined that the per acre value of this parcel is $4,200 on the entire parcel totaling plus or minus 10 acres. The amount cash in lieu municipal reserve owing to Wheatland County will be approximately $4,200. The exact amount will be determined based on the final plan of survey. Administration is recommending that Municipal Planning Commission approve subdivision SD 2020-017, subject to the conditions noted in the planning report. That concludes this presentation, and I'm available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. MPC's wishes?
I'll make the motion to approve SD 2020-017 with conditions as presented.
Thank you, Member Clausen. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, I deem that passed. No other planning men. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. I believe there is